A pleasant good morning, and let me welcome you to another edition of Ask the Prime Minister. I am your host, Erasmus Williams, and as we wait until the Prime Minister is ready to present his opening statement, we welcome listeners to Choice FM on Nevis, ZIZ Radio, Kiss FM, and of course, Freedom FM. The number to call will be 465-2555. That's 465-2555. And you can email us at askthepm@zizonline.com. Before the Right Honourable Dr. Denzil Douglas makes his usual opening statement, we tell you some of the activities which are taking place in the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. As you are aware, there is the Department of Constituency Empowerment, known as the DCE, and the DCE is now in its preparatory phase for its operational year commencing January 2014. And pre-operational activities include a public awareness drive entitled Be Empowered, funding drive, and pre-operational survey. The department is governed by the three tenets: community activism, resilient livelihoods, and participatory local governance, and is expected to work within the framework of a self-help delivery system at the constituency level. That's the DCA, the Department of Constituency Empowerment. And then the Human Resource Management Department, which is a department of the Office of the Prime Minister, will be holding an upcoming training workshop for junior clerks under the theme Professionalism and Ethics in the Workplace. The broad objectives of the workshop will be to maintain the proper attitude and perspective, the importance of dress and appearance, acting with more consideration and respect to each other, adhering to the code of conduct, identifying and understanding the ethical issues in the organization, and identifying how ethics affect teamwork and productivity. That is a training exercise for junior clerks in the civil service. There's also a training exercise entitled Understanding the Civil Service for new entrants in the civil service, and another one for senior clerks in the civil service, and this one will be dealing with training workshop for senior clerks under the theme Effective Record Keeping. At this time, we invite the Right Honourable Dr. Denzil Douglas to make his opening statement in this edition of Ask the Prime Minister. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Good morning, Erasmus. Good morning to all of our listeners. Good morning to the staff here at ZIZ, GQ, and all here in the studio. Welcome, as always, to Ask the Prime Minister. I'm very sorry not to have been able to participate in our usual Tuesday morning conversations, but as you know, my official responsibilities required me to be in Washington, D.C., fulfilling a mission that would benefit not only St. Kitts and Nevis, not even the CARICOM member states alone, but indeed small states, wherever their geographic location, whether it's in Africa, in the Indian Ocean, in the Pacific Ocean, in the Caribbean, wherever they were. I became one of their spokespersons over the last week also in Washington, D.C. But before I begin, I must express the great shock and sadness I felt upon learning of the death of young Kadeem Pereira. As a father and just as a human being, I was quite shaken to learn of the loss of one so very young. In fact, when I learned while I was abroad that he was missing, I happened to have had his mother's telephone number in my cell phone and tried to reach to express, and then a day or two after got the very, very sad news that his body was actually discovered. There are no words to capture my feelings upon receiving the reports, and I join with all those who have been extending heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of Khadija. You remember, listeners, that in May of this year, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, His Excellency Mr. Kamala Sharma, made an official visit to our Federation. At that time, I was informed that the Commonwealth wished to establish a high-level mission on small states' debt comprised of Commonwealth leaders whose responsibility it would be to raise the profile and advocate on behalf of the small states of the world at the highest level of decision-making at the World Bank, at the International Monetary Fund, and other international financial institutions, for example, the Inter-American Development Bank. Secretary General Sharma at that time explained that this delegation would be tasked, among other things, with proposing practical solutions to the world's leading international financial institutions. And on behalf of the Commonwealth, he invited me at that time to lead this particular high-level delegation. The Commonwealth, as we know, is comprised of some 54 nations, representing both some of the world's wealthiest nations, like Australia, South Africa, and Canada, as well as some of those that are not wealthy. In fact, of these 54 nations, 32 of them are considered as small states. It includes very large nations and very small nations like ours, of course, and the number of its inhabitants is some 2.2 billion people. And so for all of these reasons, I understood and valued the honor of being asked to lead this particular delegation. The finance ministers of Jamaica, Samoa, Seychelles, Tonga, and also a representative from Mauritius, and I focused indeed as we worked with the various financial institutions on behalf of our fellow island states everywhere. We had an extremely hectic, highly productive and constructive series of sessions with the leaders of the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the Inter-American Development Bank, and other international financial institutions. And it was particularly opportune to have been asked to lead this particular mission at this time. We thoroughly addressed, of course, all the pertinent issues regarding debt and liquidity and the importance of finding finance for development where all small states are concerned. In addition, as many of us know, I have long spoken out against the ill-advised policy of the international financial community denying concessionary loans to small nations like ours, when their socioeconomic profiles evolve from low income to middle income to high income. And so we took the opportunity to make this point at the very highest levels of international financial decision making. And our message did resonate because this particular policy penalizes those small states whose economic policies, whose investment climates, and whose workforce productivity result in their becoming high-income nations. While this high-income classification is welcome evidence of a nation's effectiveness in the economic sphere, it also results in their being shut out of low or no interest loans for their nation's development. Not only loans they are shut out from, but development aid also is absent. Our point was that a nation like St. Kitts-Nevis, with our US $750 million economy, most certainly should not be borrowing under the same terms as, say, South Africa, with its US $400 billion economy. Nor, for example, should we be borrowing under the same terms as the United States of America, with its US $16 trillion economy. The time then has come for international financial institutions to distinguish between small, high-income states of, say, 50,000 people like ours and high-income world powers like China with its 1.4 billion persons population and its US $8 trillion economy. This is the point I made on behalf of the Federation, on behalf of other high-income states in the Caribbean, and on behalf of high-income small states everywhere. And the point was even made clearer when we emphasized that all of these states, highly indebted, small, are highly vulnerable. Vulnerable not only to natural disasters, but vulnerable to the economic shocks that we are seeing right now that has engulfed the world since 2008. It is my hope, and indeed my expectation, that our in-depth discussions in Washington and the presentation of our report when Commonwealth heads of government will meet next month will redound to the benefit of small states everywhere. This global environment is not an easy place for small states in this era. I want our listeners to understand that I am therefore most grateful that we in St. Kitts-Nevis have been able to develop the kinds of relationships, secure the level of access, and benefit from the type of regard internationally that makes it possible for us to be able to intervene directly and substantively beyond our shores to advance the interest of our country and our people, not only for today or the next decade, but indeed for generations to come. And with this, listeners, I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and I thank all of the radio stations that have so far, for many years, made it possible and made certain that their listeners would be able to listen to and participate in Ask the Prime Minister. It is time for our conversation now to begin. The lines are open, and I await your calls by asking our good friend, our master at the controls here, GQ, to let us get going with our conversations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Undisputed and political heavyweight champion of the world, PM Douglas. And good morning to Mr. Williams.
Good morning.
Mr. PM, I am reporting to you and the general public from the Situation Room, and I want you to listen very carefully. Take note. Mr. PM, one of your former colleagues who wanted to be a PM, bad, and who many times on the platform and in Parliament referred to you as the best leader and Prime Minister in the Caribbean, and who used to refer to his other colleagues as jellyfish. One, he said, always sleeping and lazy, while the other one is too greedy. The farmer said on the newest radio station, and listen to this, that when you return from your studies, you were taken to Simmons by your brother to beg him to let you run for PM. Give me a break. He thinks we losing our memory like them. He said that while he was out, because they always wait until you leave to talk. The people is wondering if he is confused between you and himself, and who was really the person in the Browns house in Greenland, begging Simmons in 1989 to be a candidate, but was refused because of trust. But by 1993, begging to be a candidate and was accepted in spite of strong resistance from your party. Was it he who, after failing to win his seat, Mr. Stanley said on the Nevis Heavyweight Show, said he called Nevis to inform Amory that if you ask him to form a government, not to do it. That was after the impasse. But still, had the gall to run for Labour in 95. Well, what manner of man is he? Is he one of the real terrorists? Mr. PM, I was in a business place in town, and I want you to listen, where I listened to a very interested conversation concerning whether the excuse made for their behavior against you, the party and people, appropriate or a lame excuse. They say you're not listening to the two of them. And the land swap to the people, or to the people who lent the government millions of dollars to develop this country, is their reason. One preferred to accept leadership, while the other loved the idea of falling from grace to disgrace. To make up their nest with political crooks who supported the greatest unforgivable sin of all times, witnessed by the whole world, to give away sacred lands from not what was offered, but asking for more to be placed in a secret offshore account. Now the news are saying that a tape was sent by an authority to the security force, that this man, who got no call in politics, but still forcing himself on the people, was heard. It was said on the Observer radio station out of Antigua, saying there will be violence. And you know what violence means? That can be construed further to mean bloodshed in the next general election. Mind, Mr. PM, you are responsible for elections and therefore must bring this matter to the police. This man must not be allowed to intimidate the voters of this country. And finally, sir, it is said that the same tactics they used in Nevis against NRP is the same tactics they are trying to use in St. Kitts. Free health care, padding up the list, and accusing others. They tell a handful of our always welcome brothers and sisters that they will not pay for work permit. And more dishonest lies have been told to them. Have a good day, sir.
I want to thank our first caller for what appears to have been three important questions that have been posed in his own way and in his own style. The first question was, I, Denzel Douglas, on return to St. Kitts after being a medical doctor, taken to Simmons by my brother to become a member of PAM. Absolute nonsense. Dwyer Rastafan is a sick man to make statements of this kind. The second question, what really was the idea behind the land for debt swap? The idea behind the land for debt swap, which was something that was pursued entirely by my government with the full support of my cabinet at that time, was to do two things. One, it was to ensure that the debt, the national debt of the government of St. Kitts-Nevis would have been reduced to a significant level, thus not using the debt or not allowing the debt to become a distraction and a deterrent for our continued development and growth. And that is why today we know that we've done the right thing. Our debt has been reduced significantly from about 200% of GDP to just under or just about 100%, and is continuing to fall to levels of about 89%, which is what it will be by the year 2015 or thereabout. I also want to say that as a result of this, confidence of investors has returned or has not been lost. We are seeing significant new investment opportunities. Our growth is one of the highest in the Eastern Caribbean, if not the highest, 1.9% of GDP for this year in particular. And just coming out of Washington last week, it has been estimated that for 2014, the growth for St. Kitts and Nevis will be around 3.4, 3.5%, which is significantly higher than any Caribbean country at this particular time. So I think we've done the right thing in reducing the debt. The second important expectation from the debt was that we would be able to free up the land for private sector development. We've made the point time and time again that the government has had the benefit of these lands used to secure loans which had been advanced to the government and to the people by National Bank. National Bank is completely 100% owned by Kitts-Nevis. National Bank is in fact the major shareholder in National Bank is the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. Also, Social Security has significant shareholding in National Bank. So when the land, therefore, which were being held by the National Bank to secure the loans to the tune of $900 million, and we are now allowing the bank access to these lands for private sector development, we are allowing our own institution that is 100% owned by Kitts-Nevis to have access to these lands for private sector development. There's nothing wrong in doing this, and we continue to make the point that we have done the right thing. Those who were seeking to get into political office, in particular to become Prime Minister, that is Timothy Harris, now using the land for debt swap as the reason for leaving the cabinet or for opposing the government, it has now been clearly shown to the world that Timothy Harris not only cannot be trusted, but is obsessed with the idea of becoming Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. And it has shown to the world he does not care what happens to anybody, to any party, to any country, as long as he can become the Prime Minister. His own selfish motive, that is all he's concerned about. And this is really what has come to the fore as a result of the debate around the land for debt swap. So that is not any reason. Timothy Harris at one time supported fully the cabinet position that the land for debt swap would be used as one of the vehicles to attempt to reduce the national debt of St. Kitts and Nevis. The third question very quickly, will there be violence in the next elections? I want to say to those who are making those kind of stupid statements out there that I have confidence in the security forces of our country. I have confidence in the police, the management, and all who serve in that institution. I have confidence in the Defense Force, its leadership, and all who serve and to protect and keep the peace in our country. I also believe in the maturity of our voters. We have been involved in electioneering from time immemorial. We believe that this election that is to come by 2015, whenever it comes, is expected to be as peaceful as we've had all other elections. Those who are trying to intimidate people and who believe that they can use violence to get into office, just let them know that we have something waiting for them. Let's move on.
As we go back to the phone lines, the number to call is 465-2555. We welcome our next caller. Good morning. Ask the PM.
Yes, good morning to the listening public. Good morning, the boss. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
The boss, after listening to the first caller, right, I get a bit hype. But if you didn't talk that long, I would have come on the phone hype up. I will tell you why. Because week before Sunday, I was at a meeting. When I listened, Dwyer tell the people them, do not go and pay for no work permit next year, because they're going to win the next general election. He also stated and said, don't listen the Labour Party with all the chicks them, because at the end of the day, they're going to turn around and they port them. Now, somebody, for instance, say, I thought it's you used to do it in the Labour Party. Well, after that, he keep his mouth shut. Right? And listening to Timothy Harris now speaking, asking the people them and begging the people them to vote for them for this next coming election because they want to get rid of the Labour Party. Now, one man walk out and say he do not understand, not at all, Timothy Harris is saying. Another one walk out and say, if he could say such things about Cuba, why should he asking them in there to vote for him when they from off this country? And right there and then, the Prime Minister, I see that this man really greedy and hungry for power. Right? Because if you're going to say such thing about a country, why now you're begging foreign people again to vote for you, to put you into office to get rid of Labour? And I want to show the people them out there and to tell them this. Remember when y'all said that y'all want to get out Labour, y'all still putting into Labour, man. Because it seems like I ain't know the difference. Mind, please. Another thing is, the boss, let me acknowledge you with something and tell you thanks because out there, before I come off of the meeting, the people then who went to the meeting scandalizing the Labour people them saying that we went there to mash up the the meeting. It was not so. The boss, if anybody come and complain to you, we did not went there to mash up the party. Whatever happened after the meeting, not during the meeting. Nobody disturbed the meeting in such a way. The only confusion they had at one point in time is when Dwyer was speaking, everybody was listening outside the window, and Dwyer turned around and said, see them out there. They can't come down the meeting. That was the only confusion because nobody said nothing or nothing. Let me acknowledge you in something, the boss, before I go. Many people out there are pointing fingers and really don't know who and what to point fingers at. Now, people will listen to me calling and thanking you for certain things, but they do not know the reason. And I will tell them now the reason. Furthermore, when I speak to the Prime Minister and asking the Prime Minister and thanking the Prime Minister, I will let you all know I am asking the Prime Minister to help you, the young people them out there, with certain things that you see and you want. Furthermore, such as lands, right? Which in other party members out there have nothing at all in store for you. And I can't get over one man stressing on shoes. Right? I don't know, we ain't got a Nike place here, but he's stressing on making shoes. I will tell you this. At one point in time, I saw Timothy Harris came off the boat down the Bayfront and I asked him, what does he have in store for the young people? He had no answer because he said that he ain't have nothing in place as yet. And since year 4 election, I've been asking the one for constituency number 8 up here for the PAM party. And as you can see, they have shoes. Now, your listeners out there, y'all know, y'all can hear them every single day. They're going to tell you the PEP is a sham. The Prime Minister ain't got nothing in store for young people. And this and Tara there. And if you all hear me, y'all can see that the Prime Minister is the only person who said, Granny, whatever you're willing to help the young people there with, I will assist you. Now, I can't be ungrateful towards that because at the end of the day, is your children them out there are getting the benefit of their doubt, not me, your children. Right? So, PM, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to helping the young people them out there in assisting them because day by day they could listen on the radio and seeing that everything they do out there, saying, cutting grass is a waste of time, this, that, and whatever the case may be. Thank you for helping them and assisting them, even with a little job, because some of them are not right now get a job permanent under the same PEP program, right? And people are still being hired by PEP. So thank you again and do enjoy the rest of your day. Nice to see you on the land of St. Kitts again. And the boss, you have to let them know, when they fight to lead the country, in the country alone they have to lead you. You hear where all you're going and you're leading for other countries, let them know all about that. So when they're fighting to lead St. Kitts one, St. Kitts one they have to lead. Because many other ministers of other countries look up to you for you to help them lead the country also. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
I want to thank our caller for making some very, very important statements and asking some very pertinent questions. I think one of the first questions that is interpreted from his statement is Dwyer Rastafari a hypocrite or not? And the answer obviously is yes. Because for Dwyer Rastafari to be in a meeting in St. Peter's, asking people from Guyana not to support the Labour Party, but to support the opposition of which he is now a part, because the Labour Party Labour Party government will, in fact, deport them after the elections. Dwyer really should be the last person to speak about deporting foreigners. In fact, I've never said it publicly, but I say it now. One of the reasons for the fallout between Dwyer and myself was that he continued to deport Guyanese. And I interpreted that to mean that he was doing it for his own personal reasons, especially after the cabinet had warned him not to deport people from the Caribbean in particular, unless cabinet was engaged in the activity. Dwyer Rastafari continued to deport several Guyanese. In fact, one of the persons he wanted to deport was Clive Bacchus himself, who now is the manager at Win FM. And I had to intervene because he refused to renew the work permit of Clive Bacchus and wanted to deport him.
And his family.
And his entire family. And I intervened. So Dwyer Rastafari is truly a hypocrite and should be the last person to speak about Labour Party government deporting people if they were to vote for them. Because that's what he was told he could not do. And that's why he's out of the government today. So Dwyer Rastafari is a hypocrite, yes, is the answer to the question that has been asked by that caller. Statements about Cuba, he's right again. Is Harris a hypocrite? Yes. He's a flip-flop because Harris was one of those who went to Cuba, spoke glowingly, using Dr. Drew as an interpreter, speaking glowingly about the good of the Cuban government policies with regard to training of young people of this country. And now to hear him on a political platform ridiculing the commandant president, Fidel Castro, and his government, it's really a show of hypocrisy at the highest level. And again, that's why the only way that he can be described, as school children are saying, he's a flip-flop, he's a pancake. And so there's really nothing else I can say about that. So the people of Guyana should in fact be warned as to who really are the hypocrites now asking them in opposition to vote for them, but when they were in government, tried everything to treat foreign people as if they were not part of the Caribbean community. And the caller is again right. What is the youth agenda of the opposition? There's no youth agenda. We have been criticized because several persons who have gone to Cuba, trained in Cuba as professionals, have returned home, have served their country at the highest level, and are now also attempting to serve in government, and they're being criticized for that. What is Jean Hamilton's answer to that, what the Labour government is doing and encouraging its young people to do? Jean Hamilton is saying the alternative really is that they don't have to come back. They don't have to go to Cuba and learn to become doctors and professionals. Instead, we should do like Dr. Simon, send them off to Venezuela for them to learn how to repair shoes. Well, young people, you be the judge. Let's move on.
As we go back to the phone lines, you're listening to another edition of Ask the Prime Minister. Good morning. Ask the PM.
Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am fine.
You know who this is?
Sounds like another voice.
You know who this is? Eh?
Yes.
You know the voice, right?
Yes, I do.
Yes, no study with them there, you know. No study with them. Them don't have no plan. Them don't mix up mood. Oh, yeah? They can't walk in your shoes. Your boots them too big for them there. No play with them there. Them don't know nothing. Anyway, I just called you to wish you all the best, and you know where I am, right?
Yes, I know. Oh, you're there already?
Yes. Eh?
Enjoy it.
I enjoy it myself, and I'm going to make me more big. Anywhere I go up here, I'm going to make it big. I'm going to talk about you, and they're talking about you up here too, you know. They so love you. They so love you. The people up here, they love you. Everybody I talk to up here, they love you so till. And so does talk. So I want chat. So you enjoy yourself. No study with them there.
Good.
Them then when I come back, well, you know what's gonna happen down there. Meeting, y'all having meeting weekend, no?
Yes, we're having a big meeting on Thursday. We are calling on the youths to arise. Youths arise. It is now springtime. And so we are asking them to come
springtime,
out.
Yes, I enjoy. Yes, come man, I'm going to listen.
Come out to hear
anyway,
young Convis Maynard.
With a new song?
When I come back, you're going to talk.
Young Convis Maynard with a new song. Also, young Dr. Drew and young Dr. Gilbert and the rest of the team. It is Youth Arise. It is springtime. On Thursday and Friday in a rally as well.
Okay, thank you very much. As we go back to the phone lines, thank you for calling from overseas. And we say good morning to our next caller. Ask the PM.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Prime Minister, and good morning, Mr. Williams.
Good morning.
Mr. PM, you seem to be a special man. And I don't know if you realize that and how you come to be special. Anyway, my inputs are in 3 sections. 1, there are some people who are parading with the terms minority government, illegal government, and bankrupt government. These people are the ones who are trying to dethrone you and get into public office. I'm wondering if at any point any of your colleagues in the region, or even extra-regional, approached you and upbraided you on these accusations.
Okay.
Anyway, it doesn't appear so because you're special. What has been happening in recent times testifies why you're being special. Recently, it was the former President of the United States who publicly acknowledged and recognized your involvement in helping the people of the Caribbean as well as the people of the world in getting value from the program about the AIDS business, getting relief, getting support, medicine to relieve in the HIV program. And also, recently you've mentioned it in your opening statement, you have been called upon to be part of a team. One or the other team member being from the Caribbean, that spoke for the whole world in certain areas. So here lies your area of speciality. You have been chosen to be the leader among that team of, I think it was about 6 of you.
Yes.
If you are so recognized, if you're being given the accolade for your work, why is it that these desperate fellows are parading and describing you and your government as such? My second area deals with You know that we are accustomed to areas of civic attribute. And there I mean that very early on, even in colonial times, we, from school days, from home, from the church, we were taught certain attributes that deal with relationship with each other. And two of those attributes are respect and honor. The same person, the same men who are looking for political office or leadership of the country are using terms of disrespect and dishonor for you as well as for others. Now, when we look at these men parading as such, we are wondering, after all, what kind of leaders are they aspiring to be? It is unfortunate that in some of the calling programs and in some of the stations, that even the hosts of those programs do not try to correct the participants, do not try to tell them, look, let us all be fair, let us respect each other. Don't just say Denzel Douglas, the man Denzel Douglas. He is much more than that. Recognize his office, recognize his position. He is our Prime Minister, regardless of what. So if those hosts, radio hosts, are listening, I would suggest to them that they try to control their programs and have decency and decorum in encouraging people to use respect and honor for our leaders. And finally, Mr. PM, it deals with public holidays. The question has been asked to me as well as to other people. Why are certain days given as public holidays? Two of the days in question are Easter Monday and Whit Monday. Now, each one follows the Sunday. Easter Monday follows Sunday when some churches choose to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Whit Monday, which is another name for Pentecost Day, follows that important holiday on God's calendar when people in the church celebrate the giving of the Holy Spirit. They are all church-related things, and they have them on their own day, the Sunday. Why does the government give the Monday in each case as a public holiday? What sort of impact do these public holidays have on the public sector, on the business? It seems to be a negative impact. Why? Because we know that normally on the public holidays, employees are being paid. Once they qualify by working the day before, the last day before the public holiday, and the first day after, they're being paid. They are being paid for non-productive work. Businesses nowadays can no longer afford the sort of luxury of paying out money for work not being done. They want production. In this economic trouble sometimes, I think this is one of the ways in which the government can contemplate giving relief to the public sector, the business owners, not having to pay what you call money that is not really worth paying to work not done. It is good if the relief can be given to them. It will be better for everybody to be earning from production. If government can enjoy paying people when they do not work, the business sector cannot do it. I know they have been arguing for that over a period of time. And I would therefore call on your Prime Minister to continue working with fairness and justice. There are two sayings which I would like you to hold on to. They are biblical. Righteousness exalts a nation. You know how to finish that. Yeah. The other one, where there is no vision, the people perish. So if you are a good man, once you have been following these guides, it simply means that we can see the benefit that St. Kitts-Nevis is accomplishing. Moreover, because of your truth, and capable leadership, it is the region in a whole and the world that are benefiting from your recognition, from your contribution. And there are some people listening for this one, so let me add it in and I'm finished. I would like to say to the general public, I am not an advisor to the Prime Minister, nor to any member of government. When you hear the Prime Minister say certain things, which you would have heard me said, I did not say them to the Prime Minister. It so happens that the saying is true, great minds think alike. After all, we are all members of St. Kitts-Nevis. We live here. We know what is happening. We should be vocal in talking, in thinking and talking. Well, those who enjoy my expressions, I want them to realize that it may come a time in the wonderful world tomorrow that I might be called upon to be an advisor to kings and governors of the world. Mr. PM, enjoy what you're doing because it is good and because you know it is good, and you have someone who is providing that sort of godly support to you. Enjoy the rest of your day. You're Mr. Williams. I'm Clifford.
I want to thank our caller who identified his name at the last moment as Clifford, because the caller has always been very forthright and also has been most educational in the calls that he has made to this particular program. In fact, there has been a national debate and a regional debate and an international response to the debate, to a statement that he made on this program and my response to it. This was the same gentleman who asked about what was the government thinking regarding legislation of same-sex marriage. And this really created a general, regional, and international response to the point where, from my statement made as an answer to his question, the United Nations was able since then to write to me and asking us to host an international conference pertaining to HIV/AIDS, discrimination, stigmatization, and the whole question of same-sex and matters and issues related to this. And it emanated from this caller asking a question, my response to it, and it started a complete debate. In fact, some of my colleagues in New York at the United Nations discussions that we had 3 weeks ago indicated that they have had responses in the press pertaining to our statement here when we were discussing this matter and wanted to become engaged in the debate and discussion as well. So I want to thank this caller in particular for his very learned statements that he brings to our program on a regular basis. And he's right in what he said again. There are those out there labeling our government as being illegal, minority, and bankrupt of ideas. Yet the world is seeing opposite. And he made reference to the fact that only recently President Clinton endorsed the leadership of this country. It was only recently the Commonwealth of Nations, some 54 countries, looked to this country as to provide leadership to a high-level advocacy mission to speak to the heads of the international financial institutions on matters pertaining to debt and the challenges that small states are facing, those who have high debt, who have high vulnerability, yet are being locked out of important finances for development of our country. It is to this country's leadership that the Commonwealth of Nations and 54 leaders will hear from yours truly hopefully God's willing, in November, when I report to them on the mission which I led a few days ago in Washington. And then, of course, he made mention of the importance of civic attributes. In fact, the values is what I would say, respect and honor, and basically made reference to those in opposition who were part of our government now leading the charge of disrespect and dishonor to the leadership of this country, yet at the same time they are aspiring to become part of the same leadership in the future. So this caller is really on ball, and I want to thank him very much for the comments he's made. But what I think is more fundamental is the question that he posed at the end. What really is the relevance of these two Christian holidays, Easter Monday and Whit Monday, and whether there is due consideration given to the effect it has on business activity and business operations generally in the country when these two holidays are being observed. And I want to say to the caller, yes, maybe the time has come for us to discuss and debate these things. We are largely, of course, a Christian community, Christian society. And so, as he said, we observe these days as part of the Christian calendar, Easter Monday, and also Whit Monday, Whit Sunday, Pentecost Sunday. But then the Monday following are given as public holidays, which are paid holidays, paid days when people are not working, and the employees and the workers benefit from this. And so the caller is asking whether due consideration has been given by the government as to the effect of these days on business activity generally in the country. This is a very, very serious question, which I believe engenders a number of responses. And so on this program, let again the ideas contend as we continue to debate these critical questions. I don't have an answer myself at this time. I know, however, the government does not have any intention of not having workers paid on these holidays, Easter Monday and Whit Monday. But I believe that it is good for us to begin to discuss these things within the spirit in which they have been asked. I want to thank our caller. I want to say to him, he can be assured that I will continue to use fairness and justice. I will continue to do what I believe is right, and I'm always reminded that righteousness exalts a nation, and where there is no vision, the people will perish. I want St. Kitts-Nevis people not to perish, and so we will continue to lead with vision and with righteousness.
Back to the phone lines as we say good morning. Welcoming our next caller, Ask the PM.
Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good morning.
And how are you today?
I am fine.
I'm a first-time caller on your program. I just want to say, God bless you. And you are a good man. I love you. You know who is this?
I'm not picking up the voice.
I'm a first-time caller.
Yes. I think I'm picking up the voice. That lovely voice.
Oh, you are a good man. Don't study with them. There is flip-flop. Anyway, you have a good day. See you at the funeral later.
Yes, I will be here. God's will.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
God love you, and so do I, with a passion. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
These calls are very important. They tend to shore you up and hold you up, and so they are blessings.
As we go back to the phone lines and we take our next caller. Good morning. Ask the
Morning.
Morning.
Congratulations to you, PM. Long time I don't hear you and chat with you. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
They can't stop you. They're like pancake. Pancake. They're my pen pals. Pancake. I take it off each and all. PM, just study about the Guyanese, have you hear? Because the Guyanese, and they were here long time ago. They were cutting cane.
Yes.
You understand? See how long they been here? They come in to cut cane.
Yep.
So when they talk about people who want to clean yard and everything, the foreigners and them, they come in to cut cane.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them was in Nevis, right? And working here in Nevis. And the former government was sending them back, and a lot of them want to St. Kitts. And they're still living in St. Kitts. How come you don't move them? Huh? They're still in St. Kitts, because if I go St. Kitts, I see them. Sometimes they come over Nevis for a day. But congratulations again on your achievement. PM, I want to say something here this morning. And what I want to say is about Timberland Harris. He's a hypocrite, you know. And I'm going to tell you why I say he is a hypocrite. Because I don't know if a lot of people just sit down and seriously analyze these things. Timothy Harris said repeatedly that one of his major problems with you, what he had with you, and your leadership as a prime minister, was that you wanted to sell out the people land for the debt swap that you all had going on with National Bank. He didn't agree, and so that is why he didn't support the bill. Because you're giving away the people land, fine. But if that is the case, how then can Timberland go on the side of the opposition, reject, and cuddle up with people like Lindsey Grant, who was caught on a tape last election, offering to sell away St. Kitts people land to an investor in exchange for campaign funds?
Yes.
It's just a few days ago, I saw him and down by the public market in St. Kitts, smiling and hugging up with the same Lindsey Grant right under his arm. PM, I mean, you said Douglas bad, but you can't support Douglas because he gave away the land. But then you run God in the bosom of a man who got caught red-handed on tape trying to give away the very land you're talking about for next to nothing, just so he could get money under the table. That is why I said Timothy is a hypocrite. And it really makes you question his true motives for going on the palm side. It has nothing to do with country above self. It has to do with strictly himself. It is not about the real issue of the day. It's because he knows Pam is weak. So it would be easy for him to walk over them and get leadership. Whereas the Labour Party, he has to go through a democratic process of being elected. And that's going to take a bit long. He doesn't want to wait to go through that process in the Labour Party because he wants it now. And when I heard the other Thursday night that Timothy was indeed announced as leader of this destiny movement ahead of Sean Richards and the rest, I say, my God, Prime Minister is right. Timothy wants it now. Flip-flop. I love your PM. And listen, let me tell you something. Tell them not come and Nevis, you know. Tell them not come and Nevis top down there. Because I remember when Patrice went down there, everybody make noise. But look, they're still gone down, they go keep meeting. And look, they still come over. I remember last time election you come, and you come to the Alexander Hamilton thing they had. And then you went over by Cherry Gardner for the meeting. And all of them want to crucify you. So now, how come them come over now? You understand why I'm PM? So them are confused. I said them are confused people. Not me now. Be a little bit wiser. Flip-flop. Have a good day.
I want to thank our last caller, really, for putting into perspective what are the real issues regarding Timothy Harris. Because, again, the question is being asked, is Timothy Harris a hypocrite or not? The answer, obviously, is yes. Timothy Harris, as the caller just reminded us, indicated publicly he could not support the leadership of the Labour Party any longer because we were allowing the National Bank, owned by the people of St. Kitts-Nevis, owned 51% by the government of St. Kitts-Nevis, a bank which had advanced $900 million of depositors' money as loans to the government. The government was now transferring some lands to National Bank in order to wipe off the debt. He couldn't support that. But yet the caller is just reminding us that he is supporting Lindsey Grant, who was caught red-handed on a tape that has gone throughout the entire world, where Lindsey Grant was arranging to sell at significantly reduced price. In other words, giving away land which he did not possess in order to get in exchange campaign financing. And Timothy Harris, flip-flop, is willing to support Lindsey Grant and the corrupt practice of disposal of government land, the people's land, for campaign financing, but giving National Bank, transferring land to National Bank for $900 million that the National Bank had in fact loaned to the government and the people of St. Kitts-Nevis. He can't support that, but he's supporting Lindsey Grant. What is the motive? Because as the caller said, PAM is no longer a political entity in this country. PAM is so weak, it cannot find a leader to match Labour. But conveniently, they have found a former hypocrite of Labour, former hypocrite, former Labour, a hypocrite in the person of Dr. Timothy Harris, to lead PAM, because Timothy wants prime ministership now. He can't get it now from Labour because there's a process, according to the caller, that he has to go through, a democratic process. He has to get support, naturally, from the people of the party. He has to get support from his own colleagues in the government. He can't get that. But he sees an opportunity, he thinks, by hoodwinking weak leaders, weak discarded leaders like Sean Richards and Lindsey Grant, hoping that he would become Prime Minister of St. Kitts-Nevis. But as some PAM people said recently, they're just wetting the hand and waiting for him. Let's move on.
As we go back to the phone lines, we'll take the first of two final calls. Good morning. Ask the PM. Hello, good morning. Let's try the next call. Good morning. Ask the PM.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to say good morning to the PM.
Yes, good morning, sir.
I'm a first-time caller.
Yes.
I want to call on the issue on the PEP program first. I want to talk about that first.
Yes, okay.
Like how you have the PEP program, and there are some people who are going to finish the PEP program, like go through the whole process. Do you have anything in place for them, like a document, a certificate, to say, well, they finish, in terms of future job which they can get? Because sometimes if you don't have papers to show, you can't get a job. Like they say, you're not qualified.
Yes.
So that's why, if you don't, I think you should put it in place. That's one of the issues. I have another issue, and maybe you have heard it a long time ago on the radio. It's about a former colleague of you who was with you.
Yes.
And this is serious, eh? I went to him because I was living in a 4-room house, to 111 house, and told them how I was living, me and my girlfriend at the time, and a child.
Yes.
And I filled out the form and went to him. His office was on the opposite side of government headquarters upstairs. And he started questioning me. He said, "Who is your mom?" I told him, "Who?" And he said, "Who?" And then called her by her nickname. So then the conversation went cold after there. And then I said, "What am I supposed to do with the letter?" He said, "Something up, sir." Like, show his hand like something up, sir. I said, "So you're not supposed to sign it?" He just take it, sign it, and shove it back on top of me. I said, "Wow." Because my mother is a Pam. But here's the joke, Mr. PM. Who know my voice? That's the business. I mean, it don't make you. I vote for Labour a lot. Right? So because of my mother being a Pam, I supposed to tell him that I vote Labour? And that was my grievance with the party. And still, just because, me saying that I wanted this big piece of thing, no. But just help me. That's all I wanted, the help. Because I was cringing up, stove, everything was in one room. You could imagine that bed, stove, that room outside. But, and that's my grievance with the man. Yes. Because I'm from number 3, like I said that there. Since everybody wanted to know who I mean. So he treated me real bad. And then he started sending me letter after. And he just telling me in the garbage one by one. Because he said, "Me want nothing from him. I may want nothing from the Labour Party." Because if you understand what he's saying.
Yes, yes.
I really with Labour, and people say, "But you people in someone with Labour, then what are you dealing with?" But I see what are you doing. That the problem, people don't see what people only see the bad. Mm-hmm. Yes, the Labour Party has done bad, but I done more good. And as a fair man, me say I didn't make no mistake, but you do a lot of good for the country. Who want to vex me because they say I do bad and I do good, they're hypocrite. Because you always say good about people and you can't see the bad, and you always say bad and you can't see the good, but you can't be trusted. Simple as that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what I could do. I is one of the young men who care about other young people. I want to start my own business. Go. But I've been pondering in my mind if I should under your party and I can't understand what's going on the other side neither, so because it's confusing to me. So I just in between minds right now. So I don't know what I could do when it comes to this year.
Well, you caller, you said you wanted to determine whether you would want to start your business now or later. I would want to help you, and I want you to give your number to off the air to GQ off the air, and I will make contact with you and see how we can help. And I want to commend this caller for being forthright, because he's right. The Labour Party is in government. I'm not going to say the Labour Party has not made some mistakes. The Labour Party is not perfect. In fact, we are being led by people, and none of us is perfect. I mean, I am the first to admit I am not perfect. And so I'm sure that there are policies and programs we would have pursued that some people would not have liked. But if it is one thing I think I try to do, is to be fair and to use the office that I have as the servant of the people, use it with justice and with fairness. And I don't think I am going to refuse to help somebody because the person, family is a PAM. That's not how it is. And so I don't want us to practice that kind of politics. Yes, we have party politics in the country. And that is why this thing about unity is so deceptive and hypocritical. Because those who are talking about, forget party and just come think about country. forget party and things. What is it that they have formed? One of the first things that Timothy Harris did to show Pam that he's a leader, just like Sean, is that he got a party. So he formed a party. Yet in the same breath he said, forget party. Talk about country. But he gone form a party. You understand? Because he just wanted to say he's leader of something. And being leader of something means that I can leverage that to become leader of PAM as well. And he has hoodwinked, I must admit, he had hoodwinked poor Sean and Lindsey Grant. Hoodwinked them. And so he became leader of PAM. And so he's now boasting that he's leader of PAM. Got PAM too weak to have its own leader, so he take over PAM. God and PAM people were well stupid. Sorry to say it, but don't say it. And that is where we are. Because we are not a country really where because we have different political parties that we can't work in the benefit of each other. And this caller, he's right. He's not supposed to be in any way ostracized because he comes from a PAM family. That's not how we want to live. And that is what Timothy Harris himself practiced. Not asking you. I have been called a PAM by Dwyer Astafan in my cabinet because I have said to him, PAM people should live too. He said, I'm a PAM. I'm a PAM because I want to show justice and fairness to all of the people of our country. The caller is right. I want to say to him as well that those who are being trained under the PEP program, they need to have some kind of certification. And I am told since I returned, was in cabinet yesterday, that only I think last week there was a graduation exercise involving, the Minister of Health told me, that there was a graduation exercise involving PEP trainees who had gone through training in health care services and eventually were graduated. That is what the speaker is speaking about, and he's right. We need to ensure that those who are engaged in hospitality, those who are engaged in landscaping, those who are engaged in providing healthcare support services, those who are engaged in ICT services, those who are involved in videotaping and videography, that they can get some form of certification to show that they have undergone training in a particular discipline for a period of time and at least have the beginnings of that particular activity or service that is being provided. The idea here is that when the economy eventually picks up, we would be able to have our young PEP trainees move off of the PEP into areas of full employment where they will no longer be dependent upon the minimum wage of $3.20, but on a wage which is higher based on 40 hours of service, and thus they can progress in the area of the career of an occupation of their choice. That is how we want to do it. So the caller is right. I am going to make sure, I think the PEP people will be speaking to us in the cabinet very shortly. These are some of the things we want to insist must be done to ensure that the PEP is worthwhile, not just simply giving a living wage, a support wage for our trainees, but that they can have something to show to a future employer that they have at least been exposed to this particular occupation or service after having a certification to show. And so I want to say to the caller, we want to help. We're here to help young people. I know a lot of things have been said. One of the things I try to do is to be fair and to be just I know I might have angered some of my own supporters. In fact, I angered at least two of my former ministers, Dwyer Rastafan and Timothy Harris, who hated the fact that I would say that everybody should be given a chance. And I believe very strongly that that is the way to run a country. If I am to be criticized and ostracized because of my personal beliefs, then let it be so. But I believe I will continue to do what I think is right and what is just for the nation, for the people of our nation, and in what is right in the sight of God. Let's move on.
And now we take our final call on today's edition of Ask the Prime Minister. Good morning, Ask the PM.
Good morning, Mr. PM. Good morning, Mr. Rasmus.
Good morning, Mighty Rock.
And Prime Minister, first let me congratulate you for a job well done and getting the young man for East Bastille, not East, West Bastille, to on the team. And the young people, them is excited and continue keep up the good work. But as I go through the street of Bastille, everybody asking me, what is going on with the Guyanese and the Spanish? No, we team have more Spanish than any one of them. We team have more Guyanese than any one of them. The only got one man there that talks some broken Spanish. And you know, we got beautiful doctors who fluent in Spanish. And I want you to look at it, because what they do, they're targeting these people, you know, and trying to frustrate them. And you got to step in, and you, Attorney General, and also the man who is in charge over there, Mr. Patrick Nisbet, the Honorable Patrick Nisbet, they need to step in and put these things to rest. And number one again, you've been accused of having a unlegal government. I want to know where you're traveling up along the place where Vance Emery going. Where you traveling with them going? You know, Mr. Scarrett, Honorable Scarrett gone up there, he walked with the one from Nevis. And this government's supposed to be illegal. Where you walking with them for? Leave the odd fellas and them alone. Leave them alone. There ain't no unity, there's the odd fellas, odd. You know, a lot of them just mix up and bunch up together. But one thing, you know, you might not like what I have to say no. But I got to congratulate Dwyer. In certain sense, he was capable of manufacturing to get the two of them out, and now he get them out. Dwyer is not gone on a PAM platform, but them two gone. Them two gone on a PAM platform, talking nonsense. But I ask you, just keep play back the tape, what they used to say about PAM, and that will end the career of them. God bless you, so keep up the good work. I'm not going to hold up the show no more. Thank you for everything.
I want to thank, I'm sure everybody knows that this is Rock, our good friend of this program, for calling in. Rock, again, is the element of wisdom on this program. Because Rock is right. Rock is saying, well, if you have an illegal minority government, how come the Premier of Nevis, Vance Amory, is part of the UN delegation to go on to the IMF World Bank meetings? You hear wisdom? You hear wisdom? Rock is a wise man. And those who have ears to hear, better hear. Rock is saying, if you, Prime Minister Douglas, are leading an illegal minority government, how come Premier Vance Amory wants to be a member of your delegation of this minority illegal government? Fundamental question that needs to be pondered upon. I believe it is important again for the observation that Rock has made. Dwyer has been successful in getting Sam and Tim out of the Labour cabinet onto a PAM platform. But is Dwyer ever going to go on a PAM platform? Fundamental question of wisdom. Rock is a wise man. very wise observation. And so the question of, again, making sure that we do what is right for those in our communities who were not born here, those who are born in Santo Domingo but have rights to be here by way of their parents and grandparents, they will be incorporated fully into the St. Kitts-Nevis community. They have citizenship by right, and they will be possessed. Of course, those who cannot prove that they have that right cannot obtain that right. Those who have that right, I say to them, they all will be possessed properly, and they will become citizens of St. Kitts-Nevis, because they, by constitution, are citizens. It's just that they need to be properly possessed to become citizens. Those who have applied to come here as visitors and want to work here, once they have gone through the proper processing, they also would be so treated. We've had a landmark case recently by the Caribbean Court of Justice pertaining to immigration matters within the Caribbean community. I'm having a meeting this morning with my Attorney General to look at the implications of this particular judgment. Because CARICOM people, including Guyanese and Jamaicans in particular, who are here with us, they, by virtue of that particular judgment of the Caribbean Court of Justice, have certain rights. And my government, therefore, has already taken the decision. In fact, we had a meeting some time ago with the Guyanese community that we will establish an appropriate desk in the appropriate department, to make sure that their matters are being addressed. I want to again give public notice that this is being pursued. And all those, therefore, who have concerns, especially after the amendment to the legislation that we've had, and who have concerns as to what their rights are under the new legislation, and now with the new ruling that came out of the Caribbean Court of Justice 2 weeks ago, we will have in the relevant department a desk and an officer assigned to deal with these matters specifically. We as a government are sensitive to these matters. We are concerned about our brothers and sisters from around the Caribbean who are here with us and who, by virtue of not understanding what their rights are, may not be pursuing their rights. We want to assist. The government will assist. And this is not to marginalize our own citizens who are born here. That is nothing like that at all. I am not going to say, like the opposition, like Pam, that people who are born here, who are not born here, are marginalizing those who are born here. That has been the platform of Pam for years, criticizing this government. People like John L. Powell and those who have made those, and Sean Richards in particular, have made those kind of crazy remarks on platforms. That has not been the way of my government. I have inherited a party that believed from since time immemorial in Caribbean unity. It was our first national hero, Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, who left this government in St. Kitts, where he was serving, and went on to become the finance minister of the first government of the Federation of the West Indies, in order to serve at the wider Caribbean community. This party, the St. Kitts-Nevis Labour Party, is unmatched by any other party in this country with regard to its support to our brothers and sisters from around the Caribbean. I want to make it very, very clear that it is because of the very strong belief that our party has had from time immemorial. That's why we were able to embrace again another national hero in the person of Right Excellent Sir Caleb Azariah Paul Southwell, who was born in Dominica and became not only leader of this country as premier, but has been named as our national hero. That is why we were able to embrace people like Fitzroy Bryant. Fitzroy Bryant was born in Antigua. His mother was born in Antigua. His father is from Antigua. But Fitzroy Bryant came here as a child, grew up here in St. Kitts-Nevis, and became one of the strongest and foremost leaders of our country, not of our party, of our country. That's why we were able to honor his memory by naming the college after him, because he served as if he was born here. It was Pam who, on obtaining our Constitution at independence, wrote into the Constitution in order to keep people like Fitzroy Bryant from aspiring in the future to leadership in St. Kitts, wrote into our Constitution that unless at least one of your parents was born here, you could not aspire to become a leader in our country. Written that into a constitution in 1983, in modern times, when the Caribbean was opening up its arms and saying that we are all brothers and sisters of the Caribbean region. It was the PAM government, now in opposition, that practiced discrimination against Caribbean people. And now they come talking to Guyanese and Jamaicans and Trinidadians as if they're holier than thou, and saying, vote for me, vote for me. Yet they wrote into our Constitution that those same people do not have the right to aspire to be government leaders in our country, because by some quirk of colonialism, they were born in another country, or their parents were not born here. That is the kind of divisive politics that PAM and the opposition has not only practiced, but written into a constitution. And God knows how we're going to get that out of the constitution, because you have to have 2/3 majority in the parliament to change the constitution. You have to go to a referendum. You have to go to a referendum to change that. Yet they are going around as hypocrites to the same Caribbean people, telling them, vote for me because I want to support you to do this, to do that, to do that. I had to stop Dwyer Astafan in my own cabinet just a few years ago from deporting Guyanese, whom he was deporting left, right, and center, although the cabinet told him he cannot do it. He still did it and wanted to deport Bacchus and his family. And that's where our fallout is today. And so I say to our people who are here, we are part of a Caribbean family. We are not big enough. We do not have the skills set in sufficient quantities to advance our country alone. That's why the Caribbean community was created. We are a people who travel far and wide. And when we travel far and wide, we want to be embraced. We want to be accepted. For God's sake, I said to our people, let us accept our Caribbean people as brothers and sisters. Do not be sidetracked by the negatives that Pam was preaching in the past. And as hypocrites are now trying to say that they think otherwise. They do not think otherwise. They wrote it in our Constitution. They have not changed. They may change their leadership, but they have not changed. Their philosophy is the same. They do not accept Caribbean people as our own. But now the courts recently have indicated clearly that they have to be accepted. A blow to Pam and his own philosophy. And so I want to close by thanking the people who have called in today and made our conversation possible. I want to thank those who have again asked a fundamental question. Is Timothy Harris a hypocrite or not? Is Dwyer Astafan a hypocrite or not? Is Sam Conda a hypocrite or not? I say they are all hypocrites. All of them. Hypocrites. And therefore they cannot be trusted. Persons who have been in a particular government for 18 years, work hard, so they said, to bring policies and programs together, and now because they want to become prime minister and being promised other things in a different dispensation, they're now all saying, oh, everything that was done for 18 years was bad. Those have to be hypocrites. And how can people trust them? That is the fundamental question that has to be answered in the upcoming elections by 2015. How can you trust hypocrites? And so I thank all who have been part of our discussions today. I want to thank those in Washington, our ambassador in Washington, Her Excellency Jacinta Henry Martin, for the support she provided to our team when we were there over the last week. To thank all of the staff who worked very hard to ensure that our mission was successful. I want to thank those who were with me, the Premier of Nevis, who lent his support, my financial secretary, Mrs. Hazel, and all others who made our visit and our mission to Washington successful. Finally, I want to thank Janet Harris, our former financial secretary, who is now the alternate executive director of the World Bank. Very good position, powerful position, for the support and guidance she provided to us while we were there. Janet, thank you very, very much. God bless you. Thank you all.
And that brings us to the end of another edition of Ask the Prime Minister. Once again, we thank listeners to Freedom FM, which will be broadcasting this on Wednesday, as well as listeners to ZIZ Radio, Kiss FM, and of course Choice FM on Nevis. We invite you to join us next Tuesday at the same time. Goodbye.
And every month we cry, God's electric